What's going on, everybody? I'm Caleb Ochoa, also known as NFL Caleb 22, and this is Betting the NFL week number 8. And as always, I have with me my co-host Derek Wesley, also known as DWeezy. What's going on, man?
Man, I think it's official that the paid train has left the station when it comes to me personally, because I racked up another winning week under my belt. And so I think it's time, I can officially put that one to bed. The prop markets have been good to me, and I think that's where I'm going to find myself for the rest of the season when it comes to the NFL.
All right. Well, hopefully people hear you out, go along with your picks, get him while he's hot. Right now I am cold. Maybe see a little evidence of that I can get back on track to go with money. But I'm gonna do my best, as I always do, trying to make you guys money, because that is the goal of the show. Whether you go with my picks, whether you go with Easy picks, as long as you guys are making money, that's what makes us happy. But before we get into our week 8 picks, we got to recap what happened in week number 7. And the home team straight up 7-7. I guess it spread pretty bad. 5-9. Favorites 10-4 straight up. We're good 8-6 against the spread. And overs, 6 overs, 8 unders. So not a lot of points scored. Overall, the home teams haven't been good. Straight up 52 and 54 against the spread. They've been even worse, 41, 61, and 4. There's just no home field advantage this year. Favorites, 71 and 35 straight up, 56 and 46 and 4 against the spread. Favorites have been, leading that category. Overs and unders, 53 overs, 51 unders. So pretty even split there. Not really any discernible difference between how many overs and how many unders each week. So it's kind of a crapshoot if you're betting on the total score there. What do you think about?
I think with some of these favorites,
Yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say, with some of these favorites, not to say that we got pretenders out there, but, the season never shakes up how you script it from the beginning of the season. I think moving forward, something that a lot of people are going to have to look at is the potential of fading the 49ers with the number of injuries that they're racking up, as they lost Ayuk for the year. Running back situation is still up in the air. I don't think anybody's exactly sure when we might see Christian McCaffrey return to the field. I can't even say return to the field, really. I'm not even sure he's played a single game this season, which, given what we heard during the preseason, I mean, it's beyond preposterous. But given all that we've seen taking place when it comes to the injury bug in San Francisco and potentially other teams out there, I mean, you can make the argument about the Panthers defense when it comes to injuries, a unit that you wouldn't have necessarily put near the top of the league, but any team that racks up the number of injuries that you see in these situations, like a potential Carolina or a potential San Fran, you really have to factor that into your handicapping.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's injuries all over. You can see my Cowboys defense pretty decimated with injuries. Hopefully we get healthy after the bye week. You see the Chiefs with the receiver problems. And then like the Rams have had injuries all season, different teams like that. Just a lot of injuries have been piling up throughout the season, affecting probably some of these numbers that we've had so far this season. So just keep, like we always said, just keep an eye on that injury report, because that is going to be important to whether that your team may cover or not. All right.
And I just wanted to say, it was really interesting seeing Kansas City go out there after DeAndre Hopkins, especially what the price tag they got him for. I'm surprised a number of other teams out there in the league weren't going after the potential of adding him for a playoff run.
They always do that. They always, go out there and try to find a receiver because they're always lacking in them. And, they trade for them. And guess what? They win a Super Bowl. So we'll see if that happens this year. Probably likely considering their history and considering the trend. So we'll have to see what happens. But yeah, just that's what Chiefs do. But going to my record, I did not do great. Not terrible. Went 2-3. Best pick. Like I said last week, I called my shot last week. I said my best pick was gonna be this pick, and it was the Commanders over the Panthers. Didn't matter. It was like -8. The spread didn't matter. Didn't matter how big the spread was. You're gonna bet against the Panthers, and that team's gonna cover because that's exactly what happened. I mean, it was just an obvious pick. The Commanders coming off, a
And that
rough
was
loss.
essentially without Daniels for literally the entire game. I'd have to like days.
Yeah, I mean, you expected after Jaden Daniels went down to maybe this bet's in trouble, but nah, they just kept on rolling. That just shows you how bad the Panthers are. That they couldn't even compete in this game against Marcus Mariota at quarterback. So yeah, they really secured that win. So yeah, that I was very very confident in that pick, and it definitely cashed in from that one. But my worst pick was the Seahawks.
And even though it was,
Yeah,
well, before you get into that,
yeah.
I had one. It wasn't something I gave on the show, but I've mentioned it before. Fading the Panthers defense. I got, and this has to be all time cash. What much is basically -115, but Daniels over his rushing prop of 48.5. The man had 2 rushes, one for I believe 46 yards, and the second, the one not necessarily. Well, it's proposed that he got hurt on that first rush, and then on the second rush when he goes down for 4 or 5 yards, right over the top on that rushing prop. Like I said, played a whole 4 or 5 snaps and somehow managed to cover his rushing prop. That's how bad the Panthers defense is, at least in the rushing game. So there's definitely angles that you can take in fading that team.
All right, yeah. Like I was saying, my worst pick, Seahawks. I think were they against the Falcons. I think I had the Seahawks in this game. Yeah, I mean I had the Falcons in this game. I thought coming off, some good wins there, especially at the Buccaneers game. I thought they were going to keep rolling. They did not, especially when the Seahawks had that losing streak. They were 3 games down, especially the loss to the Giants. I mean, the Seahawks team just was giving up all kinds of points. Um, so it was just very surprising to see that they actually stepped up in this game. They held the Falcons to 14 points. So it was major credit to the defense because I think most people thought the Seahawks could, they've shown that they can score points. You've seen Geno Smith lead the league in passing yards. So offense they can do. It was their defense that was lacking in most of their games. But that was a difference. They stepped up in this game, and that's what got them the win and got them a very convincing win. Beat them by 20 points. So yeah, they definitely cost me on that pick, but yeah.
Yeah, like I said at the beginning, I had another winning week. I believe that's 3 out of the past 4, basically since I've solely moved over to the prop markets. As far as my worst loss on the week, um, you know, I can we call the Bo Nix bet a loss when I told people you're better off betting a unit on the plus money with over 1.5 than potentially taking an over at -250 for half a TD, basically needing 1 TD. And sure enough, if the man didn't go out there and not throw a single TD in the game, so even though it was a loss, it was kind of the smart play in this scenario. Um, and then as far as my best bet, I don't know if I'd put it solely on one, but I told people last week, we had a good handicap when we lost the bet, Jamar Chase, and, got a push on the James Cook plays in the prior week. Went back to them in another situation where I thought they could prosper getting into the end zone. And sure enough, if we didn't see both of those come into cash with a TD, Jamar Chase at even money, which honestly, if you can find his TD, anytime TD price at plus money, even money, I think you got to jump on that. And James Cook coming in, I forget exactly off the top of my head. I believe it was around plus 150, somewhere in that range. But not being afraid to come back to the well, even though we didn't have success in the prior week. Sticking with a good handicap when you feel you got a good matchup. We've said it before. Wins don't always dictate a good play. Of course, you want to be on that winning side, but the first step in trying to get a winning ticket is having a good handicap.
Yeah, sometimes you just get lucky.
Oh yeah, now hey, I don't think anybody out here is ever going to turn down luck. Like,
yeah.
I
But before we get into week number 8 picks, if you guys can hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you have not already. We very much appreciate if you could do that. We just appreciate you guys for tuning in as well. But now it's week 8 picks. You had the winning week, so we'll start with your first bet.
all right, kind of a theme here now, coming with a Thursday night play. We got the Rams taking on the Minnesota Vikings. And even though we saw the Minnesota Vikings lose last week, I think, a lot of people are liking what they see out of the offense. So the offense is still clicking. And going into this game, one person I'm looking to target, and he's gone over his number in, I believe, 4 out of their 6 games this season. The only 2 times he went under this number, it was literally by the hook in both games. Half a yard. You want to talk about bad beats. If you were on Aaron Jones and over the rushing prop and riding that trend, to lose by half a yard in back-to-back weeks has to be awful. But like I said, 4-2 in the past 6 games when it comes to covering his rushing number, and in some of these games by a good measure. But we find the number this week at 24.5, and I'm jumping on the over. We've clearly seen his involvement in the passing game, and as I said, I'd have to double check the numbers, but if I'm not mistaken, all of those overs he's had this season would easily clear this number, and it's right on par with what we've seen out of him, seen the number at from the books in the past 2 weeks. And like I said, when he's got potential to go off for potentially 40, 50 yards on what you might call a more average day, the potential to have, a possible big play in your bag definitely makes this number easy to cover as far as the potential of it cashing to the over.
All right, I'll get so my first bet, and I got the Lions minus 11 at home versus the Titans. And this, I think, is the biggest spread we've had so far. And I don't usually like to take big spreads, but there were just a lot of there's a lot of these in the games this week. But I just think that the Titans have just been that terrible, especially with their turnovers. That's what's been killing them. In a lot of their games, and which led to getting blown out by the Bills last week. So they've shown just last week that they can get blown out by a good team, and obviously the Lions have shown how good they can be. They just blew out my Cowboys. They get the big win versus the Vikings and a tough divisional matchup last week, and show you what they can really do. Obviously, their offense very explosive. That's led by Jared Goff, who is just extremely hot right now. He's just been really, really accurate with his passes, and he's been getting to his guys. So I just don't see how the Titans are going to be able to stop him. 11 points. Yeah, it's a lot. Don't usually like to do it, but I got to do it because I just think the Titans, it's a pick on both sides. Titans are just that bad. Lions have been playing just that good. Lions 7-1 against the spread in the last 8 games. Titans just 1-5 in the last 6 games against the spread. So I think the Lions can definitely just blow them out in this game, and yeah, easy. Even if it's 11 points, I think they do it pretty easily.
I'm actually right there with you in this game. I don't know how many people out there heard it. I really didn't hear it much over the news. But Jameson Williams with the 2-game suspension. So in this game, as you mentioned, this Detroit offense has been, though it hasn't put up a lot of points every week, it has been a force to reckon with, and especially in the pass game, we definitely seeing. I think Goff play some of his best football in his career this season. And that being said, uh, I think somebody who we hadn't seen much of out of this year as far as reaching the end zone, Sam Laporta, he's going to find one and take it to the end zone with, basically being bumped up a notch in what I believe the rotation to be of the receiving core. You're talking about uh, a good amount of offensive weapons at the wide receiver position, and you remove one like Jameson Williams, we might see more of that deep threat capability out of St. Brown, opening up more the underneath and areas where you're more commonly going to find that tight end play. And so in this game, getting the TD prop at plus 200, rocking with Sam Laporta to rack up his second TD of the season.
All right. I'll get to my next one now. I got the Packers -4 on the road against the Jacksonville Jaguars. The Jaguars, maybe got a little false hope with that win, being just the lowly Patriots. They've gotten 2 out of 3 wins, but they were against very bad teams. I got them in the middle of those 2 wins. They got beat down by the Bears by 19 points. So yeah, they do get beat by good teams pretty badly, and this is probably one of those games where that exactly thing will happen, and it might be a trap game for the Packers, but I don't think so, and it's because the Jags defense is pretty gosh darn terrible. 27.7 points per game that they're allowing. As long as Jordan Love doesn't turn over the ball, and that's kind of what he's been struggling with a little bit in some of these games. But as long as he takes care of it, I really think this is going to be a pretty bad beatdown versus the Jaguars. So yeah, I think the 4-point cover, they definitely can do that. And we've seen, like the trends I've been saying, home field advantage not really meaning much in this season. So I can see why the Packers are such a big favorite in this game. So the trend says away teams picking the away team on this one. So yeah, the Packers 8-3 against spread this in the last 11 games. Jaguars 4-9 against spread. So definitely like the Packers.
Yeah, I'm definitely all for fading the Jaguars this season. For whatever reason, things just seem to be misfiring. I mean, you would, at least on paper, you would look and say they have, maybe not the most talented roster, but a talented enough roster to be a competitor with most teams out there. And that just hasn't been the case. Now, if this was any other team than Green Bay, I think I might have been able to find a play in this matchup. Unfortunately, that just shows you what a Hydra-like offense we see out of Green Bay in a lot of games, where trying to predict who might be the player to go off statistically can be rather challenging. Now, you can almost be sure you're going to have 1 or 2 players go out there and have maybe not a stellar game, but definitely a solid game as far as production. The only problem is consistently trying to figure out who that's going to be. But I definitely like the Green Bay Packers in that matchup. Now, moving into my next play, another situation similar to what I was talking about with Laporta, going to Philly with Deontay Smith to rack up a TD. This is the second week with A.J. Brown back in the lineup after a slight stint with the injury. And, it was a play I was able to snatch up over the weekend after the show. A.J. Brown scored TD, was plus money, almost felt too easy, and in this matchup, I think we're going to see a good bit of focus put on A.J. Brown, rightfully so. And that's the type of thing you really want. Those are the indicators that you're looking for when you're trying to target some of these players with a little bit higher value when it comes to their odds. And of course, with AJ Brown back in the lineup, you're going to see a little bit higher odds with Deontay Smith. And I just want to double check real fast. Yep, plus 210. You know, like I said, I think, in this matchup, we could see more out of the Philly pass offense that we've seen previously. They're coming off a bye, so they've had, or no, excuse me, I believe their bye was a week or two. Regardless, the like I said, AJ Brown being back, I think the focus of defense is going to be prioritized on him, and that's going to open up more lanes for Devontae Smith in this matchup. And also, the Bengals have not been shy in giving up points to the other team, regardless of who it was.
Yeah, I'm on this game as well. Before I get that, we'll go back to that Packers game. I think he means Tucker Craft. Seems like a sure bet. Yeah, they're Packers tight end. If you're gonna look for
that's another example of just how many different options seem to be available in that offense.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Tight end seems like a good one to go since as a quarterback's best friend when he wants to get a short pass. So definitely a good way to go if you want to looking for a guy to bet on there.
Oh yeah, most definitely. The potential for an over receptions with the tight end, because in some cases you might be talking about a number as low as 1.5, 2.5, and not worried about yardage and only needing 2-3 receptions to basically cash that over. That's the type of scenario that can play out regardless of the circumstances in the game. It might be garbage time. It might be early in the game. It might be a busted play. It could be a design play to the tight end. Matt LaFleur, I would not be shocked if you saw a tight end screen or something of that effect, specifically targeting the tight end in an unconventional way.
All right. So back to the Eagles, Bengals. You got the Bengals -2 at home. I think the Bengals have found a little bit of their stride in the last two games. Obviously, they won both of those. I think Jared Burrow has been more accurate in these past couple games. I think he's only had like one turnover. So he's been playing very well. The problem they will encounter in this game, obviously, is stopping Saquon Barkley. It's going to be pretty challenging. You talked about the Bengals defense and how they give points. That's going to be the one thing that they're going to need to do if they want to win this game. They have to stop him, put it on Jalen Hurts, who hasn't really been all that good this year. If they can do that, it'll be on Jalen Hurts to try to win this game. And I don't think that has worked out for them very well. And the Eagles 3-10 against the spread. Bengals 4-2 last 6 games. So definitely on the Bengals to cover the -2. Just because I just don't have real faith in the Eagles. They've beaten bad teams this season. And I think the Bengals keep it on rolling.
And something else you made me think about when it came to my Devontae Smith play, similar to how I was talking about the tight end position with Packers. He is the type of player where you could potentially see some sort of jet sweep or end around. And, again, back to the beauty of an anytime touchdown when you're talking about a wide receiver. It can be rushing. It can be passing. Hell, you find yourself in the odd circumstances that you got the punt returner or kick returner. There's always that possibility that is the TD that cashes your ticket.
I do think this is a good overplay as well. I mean, I think these two offenses can.
Oh yeah, I would
when they get going, they can really put up points.
Being scored in this matchup.
Yeah, definitely. So, if you're looking for an overplay, I think this is the matchup you want.
All right, now moving to one that might come across as a little bit of a homer pick, but going to Chuba Hubbard in Carolina. Yes, they're going up against a stout defense. Now the news has come out that Bryce Young will be back in the starting role due to a slight injury to Andy Dalton. So there's no guarantee that regardless of how Bryce plays that we see him start beyond this week. But we've heard all season that the coaching staff wants to lean more on the running game. That hasn't always worked out for a variety of reasons. However, 4 out of the past 5 games, Chuba Hubbard has found himself in the end zone. And, here trends are your friends. And it might be my team, but that's the kind of trend that I like. 4 out of the past 5 games, finding himself in the end zone, getting this number at plus money, being able to get it at plus 150 definitely makes it a little more appetizing to the palate. And, that's the beauty of these prop markets, folks. And even in a week where, past couple times I've gone 3-2, depending on how the odds work out, you're talking about potentially a unit plus and profit in just, barely over 500 week. So, do I feel this might be a little bit more of a long shot, even though the odds are lower than one or two of my other plays? Yes. However, like we said, trends are your friends. There's a reason why they happen. You don't always have to have the exact scenario, the exact handicap when, if at the end of the day, you're holding that winning ticket.
Yeah, sometimes you're just taking chances, and that's exactly what I'm gonna do with this next pick because I am taking the Cowboys +4 at the San Francisco 49ers. There's no good reason to pick the Cowboys, considering how they looked in that last game, especially after I took them to win, and was totally wrong about that. So, hey, if you want to fade me on this pick, go right ahead.
Hey,
But
I stated it at the beginning of the episode, the 49ers specifically, with all these injuries they got racked up, there's no reason not to look at them and fade them, especially in the coming weeks.
And that's what I was going to bring up. If there was ever a time that the Cowboys are going to beat the 49ers, this is the time. If they can't beat them, then they just can't beat this team. So this is their opportunity to finally beat the 49ers. I mean, they're at the lowest point with all the injuries they have in offense, with Brock Purdy just throwing all kinds of interceptions last week. They're a 3-4 team. You are what the record shows you are. They're not a good team right now. So Dallas has got to beat them. I mean, if we want to do anything this season to save a little bit of what was left of this season, they got to win. They got to win. And I think they have to win it more. Coming after a bye, so they've had time to get a little bit of rest, to get some of those guys back, like Micah possibly could play, Deron Bland could possibly play. So that would definitely help the defense. Kendricks as well could possibly come back and play. So there's going to be help back on our defense. And like I said, the guys on the 49ers are coming back. Cowboys undefeated on the road this season. So that's at least something.
Oh yeah, there you go. The Cowboys are not playing at home. Winning is definitely on the table.
Exactly. We've been blown out at home all the games. But okay, right here we got Grit Splits. He says any given Sunday, baby.
Exactly. We're out here fighting for every cent, every inch we can take from the books. We're gonna take it.
He says, I'm a Niners fan and I'm taking the Cowboys. Hey, I'm with you. I go against my team when I know we don't got a shot.
Exactly. There is nothing wrong with a healthy dose of reality when you're out here putting money on these games.
And
I love my team. It is not an easy relationship.
Because I love them. I really do think they got a shot in this one. I do think we got a shot. And it's a +4. We're getting some good points.
Exactly. You don't even have to walk away with the victory, and you can still cash this ticket. And we're talking about a team, I said it in the beginning without even knowing your play. The 49ers are a team to fade. I mean, you find who's going to produce on this team. And Brock Purdy has not shown that he's the type of quarterback that can go out there and just elevate anyone's play. Throughout his entire career so far, he's had the weapons in place. And I mean, I don't think, that Jim Harbaugh song, who's got it better than us? Brock Purdy's been saying that since day one.
And if you want a little more incentive, 49ers just 2-4 against the spread as a single-digit favorite. That's what they are here. So I give my Cowboys in this one.
Gotta let you stick with the trends for a reason, because they're right more than they're wrong, and that's why you're looking at it. That's why it stands out to you. And we look, you try and find consistency in, sports betting and things that you can rely on, and that's the beauty of those trends. Now, moving into my last play, I'm not even there's the potential that this player isn't even with this team come Sunday. So it'll be interesting to see how the books.
Hold on, this is funny. I got. He says Ricky Parasol is going to break out, and the stadium is going to play many men.
Ooh,
that's funny.
Man, Bob Marley's popping in my head. I shot the sheriff. Let's see. All right, we got to focus here. All right,
yeah, okay.
But Cooper Kupp in the news today as potentially being shopped by the Rams for a second-round pick, even stating that they'd be willing to negotiate eating some of his contract. So if we see him traded, I wouldn't be shocked if this play is just voided out by the books. That's probably the house rules in this instance, though it is quite hilarious to think about the possibility of holding a ticket on someone that might play on Sunday, just not for the team that they're currently wearing a jersey for. So, similar to how I mentioned Jamar Chase last week, plus money, even though it was even money on the TD prop. It's too good to walk away. And that's what we're getting here with Cooper Kupp, plus 120. Now, we all know the target share that we've seen out of the Rams offense. He's clearly Stafford's favorite target. And, I mean, rightfully so. The man is just magnificent when it comes to wide receiver position. We're talking about somebody who the books, in some instances, have to put up, 10 plus, 10 and a half reception numbers just on the over-under, because the potential for him to go out there and rack up 12 catches is always a possibility. So even if we see Cooper Kupp in a reduced role, what are we talking about? 6, 7, 8 targets, because that's reduced from his typical 12, 14 targets that we've seen many times before. So, like I said, we got plus money at plus 120 on Cooper Kupp to score a touchdown. I can't walk away from that.
And he also has those trade rumors. Maybe what's up his trade value if you can.
Exactly. You want to talk about incentive to get, say, hey, get this deal done. Go out there and rack up a TD or two.
Yeah. So you got that. For my last bet of the week, I have to do it. It's been working for me. It's making me a lot of money, and that is betting against your Panthers. Broncos minus 10 at home in Denver. It's going with Bo Nix. He's been up and down. He's had some really good games, some bad games. But your Panthers are consistently terrible, and that's what I love to see, the consistency, and that's what I'm going to continue to bet on, the Panthers just being the Panthers, and they can't score. They really can't score any points. Their offense is just a complete mess. Not sure he was even starting if Andy Dalton's still going to be starter.
No, it's been announced Bryce Young will be the starter for this game.
Okay, well, that's even better, because I want to go back to the consistent.
Yeah, when it comes to fading the Panthers, if that's your angle, I think you really want to see Bryce Young out there. Not to say that Dalton has been much better, really, but
he had one game. Yeah, he had one game.
That's what I was going to say. I don't think anybody is pointing at Bryce Young and going, I might see ghosts. No, you're not. It's daytime. You wide awake. There ain't no nightmares. Like, you got Bryce Young out there. So, me personally, I'd love, regardless if it was for completions, I'd love to see Bryce go out there and just bomb it deep and just, stay away from the check downs. But yes, folks, I'm that hot. I called it at the beginning of the show without knowing it. I specifically said the Panthers fade them. I specifically said the 49ers fade them. And I'm pretty sure my man was over here writing it down as I said it. We're talking about a team that's lost 6, 7 starters from their starting defensive rotation. And key pieces as well. This isn't just, a handful of players racked up across the defensive side of the ball. Derek Brown, Shaq Thompson, Ashawn Robinson. We start Josie Jewell. I mean, at a certain point, you're talking about players that potentially wouldn't make most NFL rosters. And that's what the Broncos are going to be going up against on the defensive side of the ball. And, as I mentioned with the 49ers, with the 49ers, we're talking about fading the offense and a lack of ability to score points. Yes, there's a little bit of, you would say there was more talent on the offensive side of the ball right now, especially with the wide receiver core. We've seen sparks out of Leggett across the season, but still a rookie, still finding his role within the team and within the league. I'm on Chuba Hubbard's TD prop. As I said, four out of the past 5 games, he's found the end zone. Now, will that be enough to keep him in the game? Probably not if that's the only TD that's scored. But if there is only one TD scored by the Panthers offense, please let it be Hubbard. Can't be mad at someone fading the Panthers given all that we've seen with the level of dysfunction going on in Carolina.
Yeah, and we've seen the Broncos, even though it's a -10 point spread, they've had 3 blowout victories this season, so they're definitely capable of putting it on their opponents. And they also held 4 out of their 6 opponents to under 20 points. So their defense is really good. They can stop the teams from scoring. Panthers don't already score as it is. So, I mean, this is just a recipe for an easy cover. Again, I'm going to be saying, just like I did last week, this is probably going to be my best pick of the week, to be honest.
There's a strong chance of it. I mean, like I mentioned, I took Daniel's rushing prop against my team. Only got 2 rushing attempts and cashed. And, I mean, confidently cashed. Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure if it was the first play of the game, but literally within the first 3 plays of the game, he busts off a 40-plus yard run. And not to say that I knew it was coming, but it was Daniels versus the Panthers defense. It was coming.
Jay says, what's the betting market on the Panthers having a fire sale?
Now, unfortunately, there isn't a player that's talented enough to have a potential market on if he would be traded or where he might be traded to. But a way to look at this potential question, if we're talking about an instance where they have a fire sale, we're talking about this team basically getting worse. That's, everything in a nutshell. So I would go and look to find, if there's any open markets on them to have the worst record in the league, them to have the first overall pick in the draft. Outside of those kinds of markets, you might find something slightly more exotic. You might see Dave Canales' name pop up in, coaches to be fired in the offseason type markets, though let's hope, given the history with David Tepper, that we don't see a repeat of Frank Wright, though I'm not sure that's saying much given that Frank Wright didn't even get to make it through the season, though that may have been the right call. So, there are ways to attack the idea of a team like the Panthers or any team out there that might be in that fire sale mode when it comes to potential draft markets and as I mentioned, where they might finish a total record throughout the NFL.
All right. That is our best for week number 8. And that is our show. So you can tell everybody where they can find you, DWeezy.
Yes, the good people can reach me at Backyard Action Media here on YouTube and at the Yard Bets on Twitter.
You can find me at NFLCap22 on Instagram and Twitter/X. And you can find me on this channel every Friday at 3 o'clock. Good friends, better rivals with my co-host Ferris Mutano. We talk Cowboys, we talk Giants. We're going to be talking about the Cowboys matchup against the 49ers more in depth. And we'll also be talking about the Giants lose once again, and then their upcoming matchup this week, whoever they play. I think it's against the Steelers. So we're talking about those 2 games on Friday. Please tune in for that. Even if you're not a Cowboys or Giants fans, we still have a lot of fun. We
trust me. I'm a Panthers fan. You will find some entertainment from watching a Cowboys and Giants fan talk to each other, at each other, about each other. Trust me, you'll enjoy yourself. Go check it out.
Thanks for tuning in, Grits Blitz. Thanks for tuning in, Jay. Thanks for tuning in to my dad. Very much appreciate you all for watching. And like I always say, let's get ready to make that money.